welcome back to the Reading the Entire Bible series. Today we're going to be finishing 2 Samuel today. And yeah, let's get it. Nathan rebukes David. And the Lord sent Nathan the prophet to David. He came and said to him, There were two men in the city, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had a very large number of flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing but one little what is that, ewe lamb, which he had purchased and nourished. And it grew up together with him and his children. It ate his food, drank from his cup, it laid in his arms, and it was like a daughter to him. Now a visitor came to the rich man, and to avoid taking one from his own flock or herd, to prepare a meal for the traveler who had come to him, he took the poor man's ewe lamb and prepared it for his guest. That's messed up. Then David's anger burned intensely against the man, and he said to Nathan, As the Lord lives, the man who has done this deserves to die. He shall make restitution for the ewe lamb 4 times as much as the lamb was worth, because he did this thing and had no compassion. Then Nathan said to David, You are the man. Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel. I anointed you king over Israel, and I spared you from the hand of Saul. I also gave you your master's house, and put your master's wives into your care, and under your protection. And I gave you the house, royal dynasty of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would have given you much more. Why have you despised the word of the Lord by doing evil in his sight? You have struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword and have taken his wife to be your wife. You have killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, because you have despised me and have taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Thus says the Lord, Behold, I will stir up evil against you from your own household, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your companion, and he will lie with your wives in broad daylight. Indeed, you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel, and in broad daylight. David said to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said to David, The Lord has also allowed your sin to pass without further punishment. You shall not die. Nevertheless, because by this deed you have given a great opportunity to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme him, the son that is born to you shall certainly die. Then Nathan went back to his home. Loss of a child. And the Lord struck the child that Uriah. Oh my gosh. And the Lord struck the child that Uriah's widow bore to David, and he was very sick. David therefore appealed to God for the child to be healed, and David fasted and went in and lay all night on the ground. The elders of his household stood by him in the night to lift him up from the ground, but he was unwilling to get up and would not eat food with them. Then it happened on the 7th day that the child died. David's servants were afraid to tell him that the child was dead, for they said, While the child was still alive, we spoke to him and he would not listen to our voices. How then can we tell him the child is dead, since he might harm himself or us? But when David saw that his servants were whispering to one another, he realized that the child was dead. So David said to them, Is the child dead? And they said, He is dead. Then David got up from the ground, washed, anointed himself with olive oil, changed his clothes, and went into the house of the Lord and worshipped. Then he came back to his own house, and when he asked, they set food before him, and he ate. Then his servant said to him, What is this thing that you have done? While the child was alive, you fasted and wept, but when the child died, you got up and ate food. David said, While the child was still alive, I fasted and wept. For I thought, Who knows, the Lord may be gracious to me, and the child may live. But he is dead. Why should I continue to fast? Can I bring him back again? I will go to him when I die, but he will not return to me. Solomon is born. David comforted his wife Bathsheba, who's not even his real wife, but yeah, and went on to her and laid with her. And she gave birth to a son, and David named him Solomon. And the Lord loved the child, and he sent word through Nathan the prophet, and he named him Jedediah, beloved of the Lord, for the sake of the Lord who loved the child. There's war again. Now Joab fought against Rabbah of the Ammonites and captured the royal city. Joab sent messengers to David and said, I have fought against Rabbah. I have even taken the city of waters. So now assemble the rest of the men and camp against the city and capture it, or I will take the city myself, and it will be named after me. So David gathered all the men together and went to Rabbah. Then they fought against it and captured it. And when he took the crown of their king from his head, it weighed a talent of gold, and set in it was a precious stone, and it was placed on David's head. And he brought the spoil out of the city in great amounts. He also brought out the people who were there, and put them to work with the saws and sharp iron instruments and iron axes, and made them work at the brick hill. And he did this to all the Ammonite cities. Then David and all the men returned to Jerusalem. All right. Amnon and Tamar. It happened afterwards that Absalom, the son of David, had a beautiful sister whose name was Tamar, and Amnon, her half-brother, the son of David, was in love with her. Amnon was so frustrated because of his half-sister Tamar that he made himself sick, for she was a virgin. And Amnon thought it impossible for him to do anything to hear her, or to anything to her, not to hear her. Anyway, but Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, and Jonadab was a very shrewd, cunning man. He said to Amnon, "Why are you, the king's son, so depressed, morning after morning? Will you not tell me?" And Amnon said to him, "I am in love with Tamar, my half-brother Absalom's sister." Jonadab said to him, "Go to bed and pretend you are sick, and when your father David comes to see you, say to him, 'Just let my sister Tamar come and serve me food, and let her prepare it in my sight, so that I may see it and eat it from her hand.'" So Amnon laid down and pretended to be sick, and when the king came to see him, Amnon said to the king, "Please let my sister Tamar come and make me a couple of cakes in my sight, so that I may eat from her hand." Then David sent word to the house for Tamar, saying, "Go now to your brother Amnon's house and prepare some food for him." So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, and he was in bed. And she took dough and kneaded it, and made cakes in his sight, and baked them. She took the pan and dished them out before him, but he refused to eat. And Amnon said, "Have everyone leave me." So everyone left him except Tamar. Then Amnon said to Tamar, "Bring the food into the bedroom, so that I may eat it from your hand." So Tamar took the cakes she had made and brought them into the bedroom to her half-brother Amnon. When she brought them to him to eat, he took hold of her and said, "Come, lie with me, my sister." She replied, "No, my brother. Do not violate me, for such a thing is not done in Israel. Do not do this disgraceful thing. As for me, how could I get rid of my shame and disgrace? And you will be considered one of the fools in Israel. So now, just speak to the king about taking me as your wife, for he will not withhold me from you." But he will not listen to her. And since he was stronger than she, he violated her and laid with her. So Amnon is cooked. Then Amnon became extremely hateful towards it. What? What? This is really how it goes sometimes too. That's the craziest part. For his hatred towards her was greater than the love which she had for her. And Amnon said to her, "Get up and get out." But she said, "No, because this wrong of sending me away is worse than the other that you have done to me. But he would not listen to her. Instead, he called his young man who was his personal servant and said, "Now throw this woman out of my presence and bolt the door behind her." Now Tamar was wearing a long-sleeved robe of various colors, for that is how the virgin daughters of the king dressed themselves in robes. Then Amnon's personal servant took her out and bolted the door behind her. So Tamar put dust on her head and grew in grief, and tore the long-sleeved robe which she had on. And she put her hand on her head and went away crying out for help. So her brother Absalom said to her, "Has your brother Amnon been with you? But now, keep silent, my sister. He is your brother. Do not take this matter to heart." What? Uh-oh. I can already tell this is going to get bad. So Tamar remained secluded in her brother Absalom's house. Now, when King David heard about all these things, he was very angry, but failed to take any action. But Absalom did not speak to Amnon either, good or bad, for Absalom hated Amnon because he had violated his sister Tamar. Now it came about after 2 full years that Absalom had sheep shearers at Baal-Hazor, near Ephraim, and Absalom invited all the king's sons to a party. Absalom avenges Tamar. Absalom came to his father, the king, and said, "Behold, your servant has sheep shearers. Please let the king and his servant go with your servant." But the king said to Absalom, "No, my son, we should not all go, for we will be a burden to you." Although Absalom strongly urged David, still he would not go, but they gave him his blessing. Then Absalom said, "If not, then at least let my brother Amnon go with us." And the king said to him, "Why should he go with you?" But Absalom urged him again, and he let Amnon and all the king's sons go with him. Now Absalom commanded his servants, "Notice carefully when Amnon's heart is joyous with wine, and when I say to you, 'Strike Amnon,' then kill him. Do not be afraid. I have not commanded you myself, and in doing so have I not taken full responsibility for his death? Be courageous and brave." So there's a lot of deception in this chapter. So the servants of Absalom did to Amnon just as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons got up, and every man mounted his mule and fled. Now it happened while they were on the way back home that the exaggerated report came to David. Absalom has killed all the king's sons, and not one of them is left. Then the king stood and tore his clothes and laid on the ground in mourning, and all his servants were standing by with their clothes torn. But Jonadab, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, responded, "Do not let my lord assume that all the king's sons have been put to death, for only Amnon is dead." This act of revenge has been on Absalom's mind since the day Amnon violated his sister Tamar. So now, do not let my lord the king take the report to heart that all the king's sons are dead, for Amnon alone is dead. Now Absalom fled, and the young man who kept watch looked up, and behold, many people were coming from the road behind him by the side of the mountain. And Jonadab said to the king, "Look, the king's sons are coming. It has turned out just as your servant said." And when he finished speaking, the king's sons came, and they raised their voices and wept. And the king and all his servants also wept very bitterly. But Absalom fled and went to his mother's father, Talmai, the son of Ammihud, king of Geshur. And David mourned for his son every day. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur, and was there for 3 years. And the heart of King David longed to go to Absalom, for he was comforted regarding Amnon since he was dead. The woman of Tekoa. Now Joab, the son of Zeruiah, knew that the king's heart longed for Absalom. So Joab sent word to Tekoa, and had a wise woman brought brought from there, and told her, "Please pretend to be a mourner, and put on mourning clothes, and do not anoint yourself with oil, but act like a woman who has for many days been mourning for the dead. Then go to the king and speak to him in this way." So Joab told her what to say. When the woman of Tekoa spoke to the king, she bowed with her face to the ground and laid herself down, and said, "Help, O king." The king asked her, "What's the matter?" She said, "Truly, I am a widow. My husband is dead. Your maidservant has 2 sons, but 2 of them struggled and fought in the field. There was no one to separate them, so one struck the other and killed him. Now behold, the entire family has risen against your maidservant, and they said, 'Hand over the one who killed his brother, so that he may be put to death, to pay for the life of his brother whom he killed and destroyed the hair also.' By doing this, they will extinguish my coal that is left, leaving my husband without a name or any remnant hair on the face of the earth." Then David said to the woman, "Go to your home, and I will give orders concerning you." The woman of Tekoa said to the king, "My lord, O king, the guilt is on me and my father's house, but the king and his throne are guiltless." The king said, "If anyone speaks to you about this matter, bring him to me for judgment, and he will not touch you again." Then she said, "Please, let the king remember the Lord your God, so that the avenger of blood will not continue to destroy. Otherwise, they will destroy my son." And David said, "As the Lord lives, not a single hair from your head of your son shall fall to the ground." Then the woman said, "Please, let your maidservant speak one more word to my lord the king." He said, "Speak." The woman said, "Now, why have you planned such a thing against God's people? For in speaking this word, the king is like a guilty man, and that the king does not bring back his banished one. For we will certainly die and are like water that is spilled on the ground and cannot be gathered up again. Yet God does not simply take away life, but devises plans so that the one who is banished is not driven away from him. Now, I came to speak of this matter to my lord the king because the people have made me afraid. So your maidservant thought, I will just speak to the king. Perhaps the king will do what his maidservant requests. For the king will hear it save his maidservant from the hand of the man who would destroy me and my son together from the inheritance of God." Then your maidservant said, "Please, let the word of my lord the king be comforting. For my lord the king is as the angel of God to discern good and evil. May the Lord your God be with you." Then the king answered and said to the woman, "Do not hide from me anything that I ask you." And the woman said, "Let my lord the king please speak." The king said, "Is the hand of Joab with you in all this?" And the woman answered, "As your soul lives, my lord the king, no one can turn to the right or to the left from anything that my lord the king has said. Indeed, it was your servant Joab who commanded me. He put all these words in the mouth of your maidservant in order to change the appearance of things between Absalom and you, his father. Your servant Joab did this thing. But my lord has wisdom like the wisdom of an angel of God to know everything that is on earth." Uh-oh. Absalom is recalled. Then the king said to Joab, "Listen, I will most certainly do this thing. Now go, and bring back the young man Absalom." Joab bowed his face toward the ground and laid himself down and blessed the king. Then Joab said, "Today your servant knows that I have found favor in your sight, my lord, O king, and that the king has done the request of his servant." So Joab got up, went to Geshur, and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. However, the king said, "Let him go to his house, and do not let him see my face." So Absalom went to his own house and did not see the king's face. Now in all Israel there was no man as handsome as Absalom, so highly praised for that. For the sole of his foot to the crown of his head there was no blemish in him. When he cut the hair off his head for at the end of each year he cut it because because its weight was heavy on him. Don't know what that was. He weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels by the king's weight. To Absalom were born 3 sons and 1 daughter whose name was Tamar. She was a beautiful woman. Absalom lived 2 full years in Jerusalem without seeing the king's face. So Absalom sent for Joab to send him to the king. But he would not come to him. Even when he sent again a second time, he would still not come. He still would not come. Therefore Absalom said to his servant, See, Joab's property is near mine, and he has barley there. Go and set it on fire. So Absalom's servants set the field on fire. Then Joab took action and went to Absalom at his house and said to him, Why did your servants set my field on fire? Absalom answered Joab, I sent for you, saying, Come here, so that you may see the king to ask, so that I may send you to the king to ask, Why have I come back from Geshur? It would be better for me to still be there. Now then, let me see the king's face, and if there is guilt on me, let him put me to death. So Joab came to the king and told him. Then David called for Absalom, and he came to the king and bowed his face to the ground before the king. And the king kissed Absalom. I wonder what this is trying to say. Absalom's conspiracy. After this, Absalom provided for himself a chariot and horses, and 50 men as runners before him. He would get up early and stand beside the road to the gate of the city where court was held. And when any man who had dispute came to the king for judgment, Absalom would call to him, From what city are you? And he would say, Your servant is from one of the tribes of Israel. Then Absalom would say to him, See, your claims are good and right, but there is no man appointed as the king's agent to listen to you. Moreover, Absalom would say, Oh, that I were appointed judge in the land. Then every man who had a dispute could come to me, and I would get justice for him. And whenever a man approached to bow down before him, he would put out his hand, take hold of him, and kiss him. This is how Absalom dealt with everyone in Israel who came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Israel. And after 4 years, Absalom said to the king, Please, let me go and pay my vow which I have made to the Lord at Hebron, my birthplace. For your servant made a vow while I lived at Geshur in Aram, Syria. If the Lord will in fact bring me back to Jerusalem, then I will serve the Lord by offering a sacrifice of thanksgiving. And the king said to him, Go in peace. So he arose and went to Hebron. But Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, and saying, As soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, you shall say Absalom is king in Hebron. Then 200 men from Jerusalem who were invited as guests to his sacrificial feast went with Absalom. They went innocently and knew nothing about his plan against David. And Absalom sent for Ahithophel, the Gilonite, David's counselor, for his city, Gilo, while he was offering sacrifices. And the conspiracy grew stronger, for the people with Absalom increased continually. David flees Jerusalem. Then a messenger came to David, saying, The hearts of men of Israel are with Absalom. David said to all his servants who were with him at Jerusalem, Arise, let us flee, or none of us will escape from Absalom. Go in haste, or he will overtake us quickly and bring disaster on us and strike the city with the edge of the sword. The king's servant said to him, Listen, your servants are ready to do whatever my lord the king declares. So the king left, and all his household with him. But the king left behind 10 women who were concubines to take care of the palace. The king left, and all the people with him, and they stopped at the last house. All of David's servants passed on beside him, and all the Sherethites, Pelethites, and the Gittites, 600 men who had come with him from Gath, passed on before the king. Then the king said to Ittai, the Gittite, Why should you go with us too? Go back and stay with the king of your own country, for you You are a foreigner and an exile as well. Return to your own place. You came only yesterday. So should I make you wander with us today while I go where I will? Return and take your brothers back with you also. May loving kindness and faithfulness be with you. But Ittai answered the king, As the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, most certainly, wherever my lord the king may be, whether for death or life, there will your servant be also. So David said to Ittai, Go on and cross the river. That does not say cross the river. Go on and cross over. Boom. Go on and cross over the brook Kidron. So Ittai the Gittite, crossed over with all his men and all the little ones who were with him, while all the country was weeping with a loud voice. All the people crossed over. The king also crossed over the brook Kidron, and all the people went toward the way of the wilderness that lies between Jerusalem and the Jordan River. Now Zadok also came, and all the Levites with him carrying the ark of the covenant of God. And they set down the ark of God, and Abiathar the priest came up and officiated until all the people had finished passing from the city. Then the king told Zadok, Take the ark of God back to its rightful place in the city of Jerusalem, the capital. If I find favor in the Lord's sight, you will bring me back again and let me see both it and his dwelling place, habitation. I don't know how I almost messed that up. But if you should say, I have no delight in you, then here I am. Let him do to me what seems good to him. The king also said to Zadok the priest, Are you not a seer? Return to the city in peace, you and Abiathar, and your sons with you, your son Ahimaaz, and Jonathan the son of Abiathar. See, I am going to wait at the fords of the Jordan in the wilderness until word comes from you to inform you. So Zadok and Abiathar brought the ark of God back to Jerusalem, and they stayed there. And David went up the ascent of the Mount of Olives, weeping as he went, with his head covered, and walked barefoot in despair. And all the people who were with him covered their heads and went up, weeping as they went. David was told, Ahithophel, your counselor, is among the conspirators with Absalom. David said, O Lord, I pray you turn Ahithophel's counsel into foolishness. It happened when David came to the summit of the Mount of Olives, where he worshipped God. Behold, Hushai the Archite came to meet him with his tunic torn and dust on his head as if in mourning. David said to him, If you go on without me, you will be a burden to me. But if you return to the city and say to Absalom, I will be your servant, O king, as I have been your father's servant in the past, so I will be your servant now. And you can make useless the advice of Ahithophel for me. Are not Zadok and Abiathar the priests with you there? So it shall be that every word you hear from the king's palace, you shall report it to them. Their 2 sons are there with them, Ahimaaz, Zadok's son, and Jonathan, Abiathar's son. And by them you shall send to me everything that you hear. So Hushai, David's friend, returned to the city, and at the same time Absalom came into Jerusalem. Ziba, a false servant. When David was a little past the summit of the Mount of Olives, behold, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, met him with a team of saddled donkeys, and on there were 200 loaves of bread, 100 clusters of raisins, 100 summer fruits, and a jug of wine. The king said to Ziba, Why do you have these? Ziba said, The donkeys are for the king's household to ride on, the priest and summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine is for anyone to drink who becomes weary in the wilderness. Then the king said, And where is your master's son Mephibosheth? Ziba said to the king, "Behold, he remains in Jerusalem. For he said, Today the house of Israel will give me back the kingdom of my father." Then the king said to Ziba, "Behold, everything that belonged to Mephibosheth is now yours." Ziba said, "I bow down in honor and gratitude. Let me find favor in your sight, O Lord the king." David is cursed. When King David came to Bahurim, a man named Shimei, the son of Gera, came out from there. He was of the family of Saul's household, and he was cursing continually as he came out. He threw stones at David and at all the servants of King David, yet all the people and all the warriors remained on his right and on his left. This is what Shimei said as he cursed them. Get out, you man of bloodshed, you worthless and useless men. The Lord has returned upon you all the bloodshed of the house of Saul, in whose place you have reigned, and the Lord has given the kingdom in the hands of Absalom, your son. And behold, you are caught within your own evil, for you are a man of bloodshed. Then Abishai, David's nephew, the son of Zeruiah, said to the king, Why should this dead dog, despicable person, curse my lord the king? Let me go over and take off his head. But the king said, What business is this of yours, O son of Zeruiah? If Shimei is cursing because the Lord said to him, Curse David, then who should say, Why have you done so? Then David said to Abishai and to all his servants, Look, my son Absalom, who came from my own body, is seeking my life. How much more reason now does this Benjamite have to curse me? Let him alone and let him curse, for it could be that the Lord has told him to do it. Perhaps the Lord will look on the wrong done to me by Shimei if he is acting on his own will. And in that case, perhaps the Lord will this day return good to me in place of his cursing. I know the word will isn't right there. I just said that just to say that. The king and all the people who were with him arrived at the Jordan River weary, and he refreshed himself there. Absalom enters Jerusalem. Then Absalom and all the people, the men of Israel, entered Jerusalem, and Ahithophel with him. Now, it happened when Hushai the Archite, David's friend, came to Absalom. Hushai said to him, Long live the king! Long live the king! Absalom said to Hushai, Is this your loyalty to your friend? Why did you not go with your friend? Hushai said to Absalom, No, for whomever the Lord and this people and all the men of Israel have chosen as king, I will be his, and I will remain with him. Besides, whom should I serve? Should I not serve in the presence of David's son? As I have served in your father's presence, so I shall serve in your presence. Then Absalom said to Ahithophel, Give me your advice. What should we do? Ahithophel said to Absalom, Go into your father's concubines, whom he has left behind to take care of the house. Then all Israel will hear that you have made yourself odious to your father. Then the hands of all who are with you will be strengthened by your boldness and audacity. So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the roof of the king's palace. And Absalom went into his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. The advice of Ahithophel, which he gave in those days, was as if a man had consulted the word of God. That is how all Ahithophel's counsel was regarded by both David and Absalom. You know, the entire time I was like, I don't trust him, Ahithophel. The entire time I was like, I just don't trust him, and I was right to not trust him. Like, I don't know, I was just like, there's something, I don't know. He sounds like Satan. He sounds a little too deceiving. I don't know. Even though these are just words on a screen, for me at least, I was like, nah, I don't trust him. When I was good, I right not to trust him. Hushai's counsel. Then Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Please, let me choose 12,000 men, and I will set out and pursue David tonight. I will strike while he is weary and exhausted, and deadify him. And all the people with him will flee in terror. Then I will attack the king alone, and I will bring all the people who follow David back to you. The return of everyone depends on the death of the man you are seeking. Then all the people will be at peace and accept you as king." So the plan pleased Absalom and all the elders of Israel. Oh, so everyone's against David again. Wow. Nevertheless, Absalom said, "Now, call Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear what he has to say." When Hushai came to Absalom, Absalom said to him, "Ahithophel has advised this plan of action. Should we do what he says? If not, you speak and explain why not." So Hushai said to Absalom, "Ahithophel has not given good advice at this time." And Hushai said, "You know your father and his men, that they are brave men, and they are just enraged and fierce, like a bear deprived of her cubs in the field. Your father is a shrewd man of war and will not spend the night with the people knowing that you seek his life. Behold, he has hidden himself even now in one of the ravens or in another place. And when some of your troops fall at the first attack, whoever hears about it will say, 'There has been a defeat among the people who follow Absalom.' And even the one who is brave, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will completely lose heart and melt away. For all Israel knows that your father is a mighty man, and that those who are with him are brave men. But I advise that all the men of Israel be summoned to you, from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south, like the sand that is by the sea in abundance, and that you personally go into battle. So shall we come up upon David in one of the places where he can be found, and we will fall on him as the dew falls unseen and unheard on the ground. And of him and of all the men who are with him, not even one will be left. If he retreats into a city, then all Israel shall bring ropes to that city, and we will drag it into the ravine, until not even a pebble of it is found there." Then Absalom and all the men of Israel said, "The advice of Hushai the Archite is better than that of Ahithophel. For the Lord had ordained to thwart the good advice of Ahithophel, so that the Lord could bring disaster upon Absalom." So they're plotting. They're actually plotting. They're literally plotting, dude. And then they have a plotter who's better than the original plotter. What the heck is going on? Is this like, bro? And the fact that they're like studying and like, bro, like this is literally what demons do. Hushai's warning saves David. Then Hushai said to Zadok and Abiathar the priests, "This is the advice that Ahithophel gave to Absalom and the elders of Israel, and this is the advice that I have given. Now then, send word quickly and tell David, do not spend the night at the fords on the west side of the Jordan in the wilderness, but by all means cross over to the east side of the Jordan, or east side of the river, or else the king and all the people with him will be destroyed if Ahithophel is allowed by Absalom to lead an attack." Now Jonathan and Ahimaaz, the priest's sons, were staying in Rogil, and the maidservant appearing to go for water, would go and tell them what was happening, and they would go secretly and inform King David, for they could not allow themselves to be seen coming into the city of Jerusalem. But a boy saw them and told Absalom. So the two of them left quickly and came to the house of a man in Bahurim, who had a well in his courtyard, and with his permission, they went down into it. And the woman of the house took a covering and spread it over the mouth of the well and scattered grain on it, so nothing was discovered. Then Absalom's servants came to the woman at the house and asked, "Where are Ahimaaz and Jonathan?" And the woman said to him, "They have crossed over the brook." When they searched and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. After they left, Jonathan and Ahimaaz came up to the came up out of the well and went and informed King David and said to David, "Arise and cross over the Jordan River quickly, for Ahithophel has advised an attack against you." Then David and all the people who were with him departed and crossed over the Jordan. By daybreak, not even one of them was left who had not crossed over the Jordan. Now when Ahithophel saw that his advice had not been followed, he saddled his donkey and set out and went to his home, to his city. Then he put his household in order and hanged himself. What the heck? Obviously, it didn't happen like the book describes it. Like, it didn't happen like that, obviously. But I'm just saying, all that plotting, and by I mean it didn't happen like that. I mean there were other factors at play. You know, like the same thing with Judas. You know, Satan got him to kill himself. So yeah, you know that's what I'm saying. It's the guilt and the shame, and obviously, I'm just saying though, like all that plotting, and you don't even whatever. Like at that point, he didn't want to take his L, but he took his L. So he died and was buried in the tomb of his father. Then David came to Mahanaim, and Absalom crossed over the Jordan. Wait, who killed who's self? No, Ahithophel. Ahithophel. Okay. I don't know why I read that. Whatever. But yeah. But the plotting is not over, I guess. So Ahithophel was a part of it, but same thing with him. The guilt got to him, and he killed himself. Okay. Then David came to Mahanaim, and Absalom crossed over the Jordan, he and all the men of Israel with him. Absalom put Amasa in command over the army instead of Joab. Now Amasa was the son of a man named Ithra the Israelite, who had married Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, the half-sister of David, and the sister of Zeruiah, Joab's mother. So Israel and Absalom camped in the land of Gilead. When David came to Mahanaim, Shobi the son of Nahash from Rabbah of the Ammonites, and Machir the son of Amiel from Lo Debar, and Barzillai the Gileadite from Rajalim, brought beds, basins, pottery, wheat, barley, flour, roasted grain, broad beans, lentils, and other roasted grain, honey, cream, sheep, and cheese of the herd for David and the people who were with him to eat. For they said, "The people are hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness." Absalom's death. This is going to be tragic. David numbered the men who were with him and sent over them commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds. Then David sent... What? Did I do that? Sent the army... I don't know what that was. David sent the army out a third time under the command of Joab and under Abishai, the son of Zeruiah. Joab's brother. Hold on, guys. I have to turn something off. Okay. Joab's brother, and a third under the command of Ittai the Gittite. And the king said to the men, "I myself will certainly go out to fight with you." But the men said, "You should not go out to battle with us. For in fact, we retreat. For in fact, we retreat, they will not care about us even if half of us die. They will not care about us. But you are worthy 10,000 of us. So it is better that you be ready to help us from the city of Mahanaim. Then the king said to them, I will do whatever seems best to you. So the king stood beside the gate of Mahanaim, and all the army went out in groups of hundreds and of thousands. The king commanded Joab and Abishai and Ittai, saying, Deal gently with the young man Absalom, for my sake. And the men heard when the king gave orders to all the commanders about Absalom. So the men went out in the field against Israel, and the battle was fought in the forest of Ephraim. The men of Israel who supported Absalom were defeated there by the men of David, and a great slaughter took place there that day. 20,000 men, for there was spread for the battle there was spread over out the surface of the entire countryside, and the hazards of the forest devoured more men that day than did the sword. Now Absalom met the servants of David. Absalom was riding on his mule, and the mule went under the thick branches of a massive tree, and his head was caught in the thick branches of the tree, and he was left hanging in midair between heaven and earth. Obviously, not literally heaven and earth. That's the sky. Get the point. While the mule, this literary style. Okay, guys. All right. All right. Where was I? While the mule that had been under him kept going, a certain man saw it and informed Joab, saying, I saw Absalom hanging in a tree. Joab said to the man who informed him, You saw him? Why then did you not strike him there to go to the ground? Would I have given you 10 pieces of silver and a belt? The man told Joab, even if I were to feel the weight of 1,000 pieces of silver in my hands, I will not put out my hand against the king's son. For we all heard the king command you, Abishai and Ittai, saying, Protect the young man Absalom for my sake. Otherwise, if I had acted treacherously against his life, for nothing is hidden from the king, you yourself would have taken sides against me. Joab said, I will not waste time with you. So he took 3 spears in his hand and thrust them through the heart of Absalom while he was still alive, and caught in the midst of the tree. And 10 young men, Joab's armor bearers, surrounded and struck Absalom and killed him. Then Joab blew the trumpet to signal the end of the combat, and the men returned from pursuing Israel, for Joab held them back. They took down the body of Absalom and threw him into a deep pit in the forest and set up a huge mound of stones over him. Then all Israel fled, everyone to his own tent. Now Absalom in his lifetime had taken and set up for himself a memorial pillar which is in the king's valley, for he said, I have no son to keep my name in remembrance. He named the memorial pillar after himself, and to this day it is called Absalom's monument. David is grief-stricken. Then Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said, Let me run and bring the king news that the Lord has vindicated him by rescuing him from the power of his enemies. But Joab told him, You are not the man to carry news to King David today, but you shall carry news another day. On this day you shall carry no news, because the king's son is dead. Then Joab said to the Cushite Ethiopian. Okay, so the Cushite Ethiopia. Okay. Go tell the king what you have seen. And the Cushite bowed to Joab and ran. Then Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said again to Joab, But whatever happens, please let me also run after the Cushite. Joab said, "Why should you run, my son, seeing you will have no messenger's reward for going because you have only bad news? But whatever happens, let me run." So Joab said to him, "Run." Then Ahimaaz ran by the way of the plain of the Jordan River and outran the Cushite. What? Man, these messengers trash, man. Garbage. No, I'm playing, guys. I'm playing. All right. Now David was sitting not beside, between the two gates, and the lookout went up to the roof of the gate by the wall. And when he raised his eyes and looked, he saw a man running alone. The lookout called down and told the king. The king said, if he is alone, he has good news to tell. And he came nearer and nearer. Then the lookout saw another man running, and he called to the gatekeeper and said, "Look, another man is running alone. Another man running alone." The king said, "He also is bringing good news." The lookout said, "I think the man in front runs like Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok." The king said, "He is a man. He is a good man and is coming with good news." And Ahimaaz called out and said to the king, "All is well." Then he bowed before the king with his face to the ground and said, "Blessed be the Lord your God, who has handed over the men who lifted up their hands to fight against my lord the king." The king asked, "Is the young man Absalom safe?" "No." Ahimaaz answered, "When Joab sent the king's servant and your servant, I saw a great turmoil, but I do not know what it was about." The king told him, "Step aside, stand here." And he stepped aside and stood still. Behold, the Cushite arrived and said, "Let my lord the king receive good news, for the Lord has vindicated you today by rescuing you from the hand power of all those who stood against you." The king asked the Cushite, "Is the young man Absalom, my son, safe?" "Nah." The Cushite replied, "May the enemies of the Lord the king and all those who rise against you to do evil be dead like that young man is." Dang. What? Why would you say it like that? Are you what? Dude, what? That's not even what he You could have just said, "No, he's dead." You didn't have to be like, "We gonna get revenge on them, or they gonna feel it." Like, bro, not the time. All right. The king was deeply moved and went into the upper room over the gate and wept in sorrow. And this is what he said as he walked: "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, how I wish that I had died instead of you, O Absalom, my son, my son." This sounds like 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 how God feels when his own children sin and then end up dying a sinner's death. You know, he's deeply moved, obviously. So notice, because the entire plot here was Absalom was David's son, and Absalom, obviously, he was wicked. Okay, we knew that from the jump. He was doing too much, and then he even raped. I'm sure he raped more than one lady, obviously, because it said that what was it, Ahithophel, whatever his name was. He was like, "Oh yeah, you go into David's concubines and you tell him who's boss." And then everyone gonna be like, "Yeah, oh, he about that life. He about that life." And then he did it. So obviously he was pretty bad. And I'm sure we didn't see the entire story, because it's probably not in the Bible. But I'm sure he did some other things than just that. Obviously, but I'm sure this is how God feels when his own children, he knows that their sin, but he still has grace and mercy. And yet, we still mess up, and even sometimes we go the opposite. We go the opposite way on purpose, and then at some point we end up stumbling, and unfortunately for some people who claim to be children of God, die a sinner's death. And this is, in David, I guess, is showing how God feels when that happens. Obviously, God also mourns for sinners who die a sinner's death. But this emphasizes how loving and kind God is, because obviously we know that he hates the sinner and loves the sinner, right? But not only does he do that, but he mourns for his own children. You know, it's not like you get saved and then it's like, all right, that's your business. Oh yeah, God loves you. Yeah, all right, yeah. Yep, God loves you. Yep, all right, see you. Jesus loves you. All right, bye. No, it's like even when you mess up, God is still always right there. David was always right there, but Absalom hated his own father, or not hated his own father, but more so. Well, actually, yes, no, he did. He did. But obviously, this is uh, this is how God feels. And then when it's even worse. It's actually even worse when we not only do we die a sinner's death, but we have the opportunity in our final moments, or maybe even not even our final moments, even before it, to be like, hey, you know what? I messed up. I messed up so many times. This is really bad. This is super bad, and you've had so much grace on me, so I'm ready to come back. And it happens. There are people that yes, that it does happen. But sometimes there's people who just are like, you know what? Or they're not even like that. They're just like, oh yeah, we gonna get our get back. We gonna do this. Yeah, we gonna get our get back. Oh yeah, go get that dude. Oh yeah, we gonna rob him. Oh yeah, we gonna do this. We gonna do that. And then they suddenly die. Now, whether that is God punishing them or not, I don't know. I just know that you can't guarantee your life all the time. Which is exactly why repentance is so emphasized in Scripture. Anyway, I don't know. That's just how I interpreted that. I mean, guys, listen. We have 5 chapters left. Okay, so calm down, guys. I've been reading this entire time. Like, I'm allowed to talk for like 4 minutes. Anyway, Joab reproves David's lament. It was told to Joab, behold, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom. So the victory on that day was turned into mourning for all the people. For the people heard it said on that day, the king grieves for his son. The people stole into the city of Mahanaim that day, as people who are humiliated and ashamed steal away when they retreat in battle. But the king covered his face and cried out with a loud voice, "Oh, my son Absalom! Oh, Absalom, my son, my son." Notice how my son is repeated over and over again, too. Look at that. My son, my son. Then Joab came into the house to the king and said, "Today you have put all your servants to shame, who this day have saved your life and the lives of your sons and your daughters, and all the lives of your wives and concubines. For you love those who hate you, and hate those who love you. For you have shown today that commanders and servants are nothing to you. For today I know that if Absalom had lived and all the rest of us had died today, then you would be pleased. So now stand up, go on and speak kindly and encouragingly to your servants. For I swear by the Lord that if you do not go out, not a man will stay with you tonight. And this will be worse for you than all the evil that has come upon you from your youth until now." Isn't Joab the bad guy? Why? I don't get it. I'd punch him. No, no, I might be remembering wrong. I'm pretty sure Joab is the one that got Absalom killed though. But anyway, David restored as king. Oh yeah, get that throne back. Then the king stood and sat at the gate of Mahanaim, and they told all the people, the king is sitting at the gate. And all the people came before the king. But Israel, Absalom's troops, had fled, every man to his tent. All the people were quarreling throughout the tribes of Israel, saying, the king rescued us from the hands of our enemies, and he saved us from the hands of the Philistines. But now he has fled out of the land from Absalom. And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, has died in battle. So now why are you leaders doing nothing about bringing back the king? Then King David sent word to Zadok and Abiathar, the priests, saying, say to the elders of Judah, why are you the last to bring the king back to his house in Jerusalem? Since the word of all Israel has come to the king and to his house. You are my brothers. You are my bone and my flesh. Why then are you the last to bring back the king? Say to Amasa, the commander of Absalom's troops, are you not bone? Are you not my bone and my flesh? May God do so to me, and more also, if you will not be commander of my army from now on in the place of Joab. In this way, he changed the hearts of all the men of Judah as one man. They sent word to the king, return you and all your servants. So David returned and came to the Jordan, and supporters from Judah came to Gilgal to meet the king, to escort him across the Jordan. Then Shimei, the son of Gera, a Benjamite of Bahurim, hurried and came down with the men from the tribe of Judah to meet the king, and 1,000 men from the tribe of Benjamin with him. And Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and 20 servants with him, rushed down to the Jordan before the king. Then they repeatedly crossed the ford to bring over the king's household and to do what pleased him. And Shimei, the son of Gera, fell down before the king as he was about to cross the Jordan, and said to the king, let not my lord consider me guilty, nor remember what your servant did wrong, on the day my lord the king left Jerusalem, so that the king would take it to heart. For your servant knows that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I have come today, the first of all the house of Joseph, to come down to meet my lord the king. But Abishai the son of Zeruiah said, should not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? David said, what business is this of yours, your sons of Zeruiah, that you should be an adversary to me today? Should anyone be put to death in Israel today? For I do not know that today I am king over Israel. Therefore the king said to Shimei, you shall not be put to death. And so the king gave him his promise. Then Mephibosheth, the grandson of Saul, came down to meet the king. But he had not cared for his feet, nor trimmed his mustache, nor washed his clothes, from the day the king left until the day he returned in peace and safety. And when he came to Jerusalem to meet the king said to him, why did you not go with me, Mephibosheth? He said, my lord the king, my servant Ziba, betrayed me, for I said, saddle a donkey for me so that I may ride it and go with the king, for your servant is lame. But he took the donkeys and left without me. Further, he has slandered your servant to my lord the king. But my lord the king is like the angel of God. So do what is good in your eyes. For were not all of my father's household nothing but dead men before the Lord the king? Yet your servant among those who ate at your own table. So what right do I still have to cry out any more to the king for help? The king said to him, why speak any more of your affairs. Have I said, you and Ziba shall divide the land? Mephibosheth said to the king, let him even take all take it all, since my lord the king has returned to his own house in safety and peace. Now Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Rogelim and went on to the Jordan with the king to escort him over the Jordan. Barzillai was a very old man, 80 years old, and he had provided the king with the food while he stayed at Mahanaim, where he was a very great and wealthy man. The king said to Barzillai, cross over with me, and I will provide for you in Jerusalem with me. But Barzillai said to the king, how much longer have I to live, that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? Am I this day 80 years old? Can I be useful to advise you to discern between good and bad? Can your servant taste what I eat or drink? Can I still hear the voices of singing men and women? Why then should your servant be added an added burden to my lord the king? Your servant would merely cross over the Jordan with the king. Why should the king compensate me with this reward? Please, let your servant return so that I may die in my own city and be buried by the grave of my father and mother. But here is your servant Shimham, my son. Let him cross over with my lord the king, and do for him what seems good to you. The king answered, Shimham shall cross over with me, and I will do for him what seems good to you. And whatever you ask of me, I will do it for you. So all the people crossed over the Jordan. When the king had crossed over, he kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his place. Then the king went on to Gilgal, and Shimham went on with him, and all the people of Judah, and also half the people of Israel accompanied the king. And all the men of Israel came to the king and said to him, why have our brothers' relatives, the men from the tribe of Judah, stolen you away and brought the king and his household and all David's men with him over the Jordan, instead of waiting for us to arrive? Then all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, because the king is a close relative to us. So why then are you angry about this matter? Have we eaten at the king's expense, or has anything been taken from us? Then the men of Israel answered the men of Judah, we have 10 tribes shares in the king, and we have more claim on David than you. Why then did you treat us with contempt and ignore us by rushing ahead? We were not the first to speak of bringing back our king. Were we not the first to speak of bringing back our king? But the words of the men of Judah were harsher than those of the men of Israel. All right. Sheba's revolt. There happened to be there a worthless and wicked man named Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjamite. He blew a trumpet to call Israel to revolt and said, we have no portion in David and no inheritance in the sons of Jesse. Every man to his tent, O Israel. So all the men of Israel deserted David and followed Sheba, the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah stayed faithfully with their king from the Jordan to Jerusalem. Then David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to take care of the house, and placed them under guard and provided for them, but did not go into them. Good. So they were confined and lived as widows until the day of their death. Now the king said to Amasa, the commander of his army, summon the fighting men of Judah to me within 3 days, and be present here yourself. So Amasa went to summon the fighting men of Judah. but he delayed longer than the time which David had set for him. And David said to Abishai, his nephew, "Now Sheba, the son of Bichri, will do us more harm than Absalom did. Take your Lord's servants and pursue him, so that he does not find forfeited cities for himself, and escape from our sight." So Joab's men went after him, along with David's bodyguards, the Cherethites and Pelethites, and all the warriors. They went out from Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. When they were at the great stone in Gibeah, Amasa came to meet them. Now Joab was wearing his military uniform, and over it he had a belt with a sheathed sword strapped around his hips. As he went forward, it fell out. Bruh, come on now. You could just hold it at that point. Joab said to Amasa, "Is it going well with you, my brother?" And with his right hand, Joab took hold of Amasa by the beard as if to kiss him in greeting. Strange. Amasa murdered. But Amasa, who had replaced Joab as David's commander, was off guard and not attentive to the sword in Joab's hand. I was right to be like weird, and I was right to be like I think isn't Joab the bad guy? And I was right to think that. This entire time I've been thinking Joab was, well, we've seen it, but I'm just saying. Okay, we've seen it in the book, but I'm just saying. Anyway, so Joab struck Amasa in the abdomen with the sword, spilling his intestines to the ground. Without another blow, Amasa died. Then Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued Sheba, the son of Bichri. Now, why are you chasing him? What? Now, one of Joab's young men stood by him and said, "Whoever favors Joab and is for David, let him follow Joab." But Amasa was wallowing in his blood in the middle of the highway. And when the man saw that all the people who came by stopped to look, he moved Amasa from the highway into the field and threw a garment over him. When he saw that everyone who came by, Amasa stopped. Revolt put down. Good. When the body of Amasa was removed from the highway, everyone followed after Joab to pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. Now Joab went through all the tribes of Israel to Abel, even Beth. I said Meth. Even Beth Makar, and all the Berites, and all the Berites, and they assembled and also went after Sheba. And the army of Joab came and besieged Sheba in Abel Beth Makar, and they built up an assault ramp against the city, and it stood against the outer ramparts. And all the people who were with Joab were wreaking destruction to make the wall fall. Then a wise woman cried out from the city, "Here, tell Joab, come here so that I may speak to you." So when he approached her, the woman asked, "Are you Joab?" He answered, "I am." Then she said to him, "Listen to the words of your maidservant." He said, "I am listening." Then she said, "In the past, people used to say, 'They will certainly ask advice at Abel,' and so they settled the dispute. I am one of the peaceable and faithful in Israel. You are seeking to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why should you swallow up the inheritance of the Lord?" Joab answered, Far be it from me that I would swallow up or destroy. That is not true. But a man of the hill country of Ephraim, Sheba the son of Bichri by name, has lifted up his hand in rebellion against King David. Only hand him over, and I will leave the city." And the woman said to Joab, "Behold, his head shall be thrown to you over the wall." Then the woman, in her wisdom, went to all the people to inform them of the agreement. And they beheaded Sheba the son of Bichri, and threw his head down to Joab. So he blew the trumpet signaling the end of the attack, and they dispersed from the city, every man to his own tent. And Joab returned to Jerusalem to David the king. Now Joab was commander over the entire army of Israel. Benaiah, 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 the son of Jehoiada, was commander over the Cherethites and Pelethites, the king's bodyguards. Adoram was over the forced labor. Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorded. So he's still alive, Jehoshaphat. Shiva was the scribe, and Zadok and Abiathar were priests. Also, Ira, the Jerite, was a priest to David. Also, I was wrong about Joab. I kept reading as if he was a bad guy, but he's not. But, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, Gibeonites revenge. There was a famine in the days of David for 3 consecutive years, and David sought the presence face of the Lord, asking the reason. The Lord replied, "It is because of Saul and his bloody house, because he put the Gibeonites to death." So the king called the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Now the Gibeonites were not of the descendants of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites. The Israelites had sworn an oath to spare them. But Saul, in his zeal for the sons of Israel and Judah, had sought to strike down the Gibeonites. So David said to the Gibeonites, "What should I do for you? How can I make it good so that you will bless the Lord's inheritance?" The Gibeonites said to him, "We will not accept silver or gold belonging to Saul or his household, nor is it for us to put any man to death in Israel." David said, "I will do for you whatever you say." So they said to the king, "The man who consumed us and planned to exterminate us from remaining in any territory of Israel, let 7 men from his sons be given to us, and we will hang them before the Lord that has put them on display, impaled with broken legs and arms, in Gibeah of Saul, the chosen one of the Lord." And the king said, "I will give them." But the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of the Lord's oath that was between David and Saul's son Jonathan. So the king took the 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bore to Saul, Armoni and Mephibosheth, and the 5 sons of Merab, the daughter of Saul, whom he had borne to Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Meholathite. There we go, Meholathite. He handed them over to the Gibeonites, and they hanged them on the hill before the Lord. And the 7 died together. They were put to death in the first days of the grain harvest, the beginning of the barley harvest in the spring. Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and spread it out for herself on the rock, from the beginning of the harvest in the spring until the autumn. Rain fell on them, and she allowed neither the birds of the sky to rest on their bodies by day, nor the beasts of the field to feed on them by night. David was told what Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done. Then David went and took the bones of Saul and Jonathan his son from the men of Jabesh Gilead, who had stolen them from the open square of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hanged them on the day when the Philistines had killed Saul in Gilboa. Well, he killed himself, but okay. He brought up the bones of Saul and of Jonathan his son from there, and they gathered the bones of those who had been hanged, with their arms and legs broken. They burned the bones of Saul and Jonathan his son in the country of Benjamin in Zelah, in the tomb of Kish his father, and they did all that the king commanded. After that, God was moved by prayer for the land. Now the Philistines were at war again with Israel. They don't have any more giants, do they? David went down with his servants, and as they fought against the Philistines, David became weary. Then Ishbi ben Nob, who was among the servants of the giant the weight of whose spear was 300 shekels, 6 pounds, of bronze, was armed with a new sword, and he intended to kill David, so they do have giants still. Okay. Alright. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, came to David's aid and struck and killed the Philistine. Then David's men swore to him, "You shall not go out again with us to battle, so that you do not extinguish the lamp of Israel." After this, there was war again with the Philistines at Gob. At that time, Sibbecai, the Hushathite, killed Saph, who was among the descendants of the giant. There was war with the Philistines again at Gob, and Elhanan, the son of Jari-Oregim, a Bethlehemite, killed Goliath the Gittite, whose spear shaft was like a weaver's beam. There was war at Gath again, where there was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in number. He also was a descendant of the giants. And when he taunted and defiled Israel, Jonathan the son of Shimei, David's brother, killed him. These 4 warriors were descendants from the giant in Gath, and they fell by the hands of David and his servants. What are these names, first of all? Second of all, how you got 6 toes, bruh? That boy got 6 toes. That boy got 6 toes. That's crazy to me. Wild. David's psalm of rescue. David spoke the words of the song to the Lord when the Lord rescued him from the hands of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul. He said, "The Lord is my rock and my fortress on the mountain and my rescuer, my God, my rock, whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold and my refuge, my Savior. You save me from violence. I call on the Lord, who is worthy to be praised, and I am saved from my enemies. For the waves of death encompassed me. The torrents of destruction overwhelmed me and terrified me. The cords of Sheol surrounded me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress I called upon the Lord. I cried out to my God. And from his temple in the heavens he heard my voice. My cry for help came into his ears. Then the earth shook and quaked. The foundations of the heavens trembled and were shaken because he was angry. Smoke went out from his nostrils, and devouring fire from his mouth. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also, and came down with thick darkness under his feet. He rode on a on a cherub and flew. He appeared upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness cut canopies around him. A mass of waters, thick clouds of the skies. Out of the brightness before him, coals of fire were set aflame. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice. He sent out arrows and scattered them, lightning, and confused them. The channels of the sea appeared. The foundations of the world were uncovered at the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. He sent from above. He took me. He drew me out of great waters. He rescued me from my strong army. He rescued me from my strong enemy. From those who hated me, for they were too mighty for me. They came upon me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my support. He also brought me to an open place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. The Lord has dealt with me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands. He has rewarded me, for I have kept the ways of the Lord, and have not acted wickedly against my God. For all his judgments, legal decisions, were before me, and from all his statutes I did not turn aside. I was also blameless before him, and kept myself from wrongdoing. Therefore the Lord has rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness in his sight. With the loving and loyal you show yourself loving and loyal. With the blameless you show yourself blameless. With the pure you show yourself pure. With the perverted you show yourself astute. and you save the afflicted people. But your eyes are on the haughty whom you abase, humiliate. For you, O Lord, are my lamp. The Lord illumines and dispels my darkness. For by you I can run upon a troop. By my God I can leap over a wall. As for God, his way is blameless and perfect. The word of the Lord is tested. He is a shield to all those who take refuge and trust in him. For who is God besides the Lord? And who is a rock besides our God? God is my strong fortress. He sets the blameless in his way. He makes my feet like the doe's feet, firm and swift. He sets me secured and confident on my high places. He trains my hands for war, so that my arms can bend, pull back a bow of bronze. You have also given me the shield of your salvation, and your help and gentleness make me great. You enlarge my steps under me, and my feet have not slipped. I pursued my enemies and destroyed them, and I did not turn back until they were consumed, eliminated. I consumed them and shattered them so that they did not rise. They fell under my feet, for you have surrounded me with strength for the battle. You have subdued under me those who stood against me. You have also made my enemies turn their backs to me in retreat, and I destroyed those who hated me. They looked, but there was no savior for them. Even to the Lord they looked, but he did not answer them. Then I beat them as small as the dust of the earth. I crushed and stamped them as the mire, dirt, mud of the streets. You also have rescued me from strife with my own people. Oh yeah. You have kept me as the head of the nations. People whom I have not known serve me. Foreigners pretend obedience to me. As soon as they hear me, they obey me. Foreigners lose heart. They come trembling out of their strongholds. The Lord lives, and blessed be my rock, and exalted be my God, the rock of my salvation. It is God who executes vengeance for me, and brings down and disciplines the peoples under me, who also brings me out from my enemies. You even lift me above those who rise up against me. You rescue me from a violent man. For this I will give thanks and praise you, O Lord, among the nations. I will sing praises to your name. He is a tower of salvation and great deliverance to his king, and shows loving kindness to his anointed, to David and his offspring forever. That was beautiful, David. Oh, you got another song too, David? Wow. David's last psalm. Now these are the last words of David. No, keep him alive for like the entire Bible. Dang, bro. David, the son of Jesse, declares, the man who was raised on high declares, the anointed of the God of Jacob, and the sweet psalmist of Israel. The Spirit of the Lord spoke by me, and his word was on my tongue. The God of Israel, the rock of Israel, spoke to me. He who rules over men righteously, who rules in the fear of God, is like the morning light when the sun rises, a morning without clouds, when the fresh grass springs out from the earth, through sunshine after rain. Truly is not my house so blessed with God, for he has made an everlasting covenant with me, ordered in all things and secured. For will he not cause to grow and prosper all my salvation and my every wish? Will he not make it grow and prosper? But the wicked and worthless men are to be thrown away like thorns, because they cannot be taken with the hand. But the man who touches them must be armed with iron and the shaft of a spear, and they are utterly burned and consumed by fire in their place. His mighty men. These are the names of the mighty men whom David had Josheb Bashibeth. I never read that word. No, I never read that word once. Tachimonite, chief of the captains,
also called Adino the Esnite, because of the 800 men killed by him at one time. Next to him was Eleazar the son of Dodo, the son of Ahohai. He was one of the three mighty men with David when they taunted and defiled the Philistines assembled there for battle, and the men of Israel had gone. Eleazar stood up and struck down the Philistines until his hand was weary and clung to the sword. The Lord brought about a great victory that day. The people returned after him, only to take the spoil of the slain. Next to Eleazar was Shammah, the son of Agi, the Hararite. The Philistines were gathered into an army where there was a plot of ground until ground full of lentils, and the people of Israel fled from the Philistines. But he took his stand in the center of the plot and defended it and struck down the Philistines, and the Lord brought about a great victory. Then the 30 chief men went down and came to David at harvest time in the cave of Abdullah, while an army of Philistines was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. David was then in a stronghold, and the garrison of the Philistines was there in Bethlehem. Was then in Bethlehem, not there. Then in Bethlehem. And David had a craving and said, "Oh, that someone would give me water to drink from the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate." So the three mighty men broke through the camp of the Philistines and drew water from the well of Bethlehem by the gate and carried and brought it to David. But he would not drink it, but poured out in worship to the Lord. And he said, "Far be it from me, O Lord, that I should drink this. Is it not the same as the blood of the men who went at the risk of their lives?" So he would not drink it. These things the three mighty men did. Now Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief of the 30. He wielded his spear against 300 men and killed them, and gained reputation beside the three. He was most honored of the 30, so he became their commander. However, he did not attain to the greatness of the three. Then Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabzeel, whom had done many notable acts, killed 2 famous warriors of Moab. He also went down and killed a lion in the middle of a pit on a snowy day. And he killed an Egyptian, an impressive and handsome man. The Egyptian had a spear in his hand, but Benaiah went down to him with a club, snatched the spear out of the Egyptian's hand, and killed the man with his own spear. These things Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, did, and gained reputation beside the 3 mighty men. He was honored among the 30, but he did not attain the greatness of the 3. David appointed him over his guard. Asahel, the brother of Joab, was one of the 30. Then Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem, Shema of Herod, Elika of Herod, Elez the Peltite, Ira the son of Ikesh of Tekoda, Abiezer of Anathoth, Mebunai, Mebunai the Hushathite, Zalmon the Ahohite, Merai of Netophah, Heleb the son of Bana of Netophah, Itai the son of Ribai of Gibeah of the Benjamites, Benaiah of Pirathon, Hidai of the brooks of Gash, Abi Albon the Arbathite, Esmaveth the Berhumite, Eliahba of Shalbon, the sons of Jonathan, Shammah the Hararite, Ahiam the son of Sharar, the Ararite, Eliphelet the son of Ahasbai, the son of Maachah, Eliam the son of Ahitophel of Gilo, Hezron of Carmel, Parai the Arbite, Egal, the son of Nathan of Zobah, Bani, the Gadite, Zelek, the Ammonite, Neharai of Beeroth, armor-bearer of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, Ira, the Ithrite, Gareb, the Ithrite, Uriah, the Hittite, 37 in all. That was, I'm not going to say that was painful to read, but I'm not used to reading names like that. The census taken. Now again, the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and he incited David against them to say, "Go, count the people of Israel and Judah." So the king said to Joab, the commander of the army who was with him, "Go now through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south, and conduct a census of the people, so that I may know the number of the people." But Joab said to the king, "May the Lord your God add to the people 100 times as much as there are, and let the eyes of my lord the king see it." But why does my lord the king want to do this thing? Nevertheless, the king's word prevailed against Joab and the commanders of the army. So they went from the king's presence to take a census of the people of Israel. They crossed over the Jordan and camped in Aroer on the south side of the city, which is in the middle of the river valley of the Arnon towards Gad, and on toward Jazer. Then they came to Gilead and to the land of Tahtim Hodshi, and they came to Dan Jam, and around to Sidon, and they came to the stronghold of Tyre, and to all the cities of the Hivites and Canaanites, and they went out to the south of Judah to Beersheba. So they had gone about through all the land, taking the census, and they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 months and 20 days. And Joab gave the sum of the census of the people to the king. In Israel there were 800,000 valiant men who drew the sword, and the men of Judah were 500,000. But David's hard conscience troubled him, and he had counted the people. David said to the Lord, "I have sinned greatly in what I have done. But now, O Lord, please take away the sin of your servant, for I have acted very foolishly." When David got up in the morning, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, "Go and say to David, 'Thus says the Lord, I am giving you 3 choices. Select one of them for yourself, and I will do it to you.'" So Gad came to David and told him and said to him, "Shall 7 years of famine come to you in your land? Or will you flee 3 months before your enemies as they pursue you? Or shall there be 3 days of pestilence, plague, in your land? Now consider this and decide what answer I shall return to him who sent me." Then David said to Gad, "I am in great distress. Let us fall into the hands of the Lord, for his mercies are great. But do not let me fall into the hands of a man." Pestilence sent. So the Lord sent a pestilence lasting 3 days upon Israel from the morning until the appointed time. And 70,000 men of the people from Dan to Beersheba died. Dang! When the avenging angel stretched out his hand toward Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord relented from the disaster and said to the angel who destroyed the people, "It is enough. Now relax your hand." And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. When David saw the angel who was striking down the people, he spoke to the Lord and said, "Behold, I alone am the one who has sinned and done wrong. But these people of Israel, what have they done to deserve this? Please, let your hand be only against me and my father's house." David builds an altar. Then Gad the prophet came to David that day, saying to him, Go up, set up an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite, where you saw the angel. So David went up according to Gad's word, as the Lord commanded him. Araunah looked down and saw the king and his servants crossing over toward him. And he went out and bowed before the king with his face toward the ground. Araunah said, "Why has my lord the king come to his servant?" And David said, "To buy the threshing floor from you, to build an altar to the Lord, so that the plague may be held back from the people." Araunah said to David, "Let my lord the king take and offer up what seems good to him. Look, here are oxen for the burnt offering, and threshing sledges, and the yokes of the oxen for the wood. All of this, O king, Araunah gives to the king." And Araunah said to the king, "May the Lord your God be favorable to you." But the king said to Araunah, "No, but I will certainly buy it from you for a price. I will not offer burnt offerings to the Lord my God, which cost me nothing." That's a good point. So David purchased the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. David built an altar to the Lord there and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. So the Lord was moved to compassion by David's prayer for the land, and the plague was held back from Israel. And as for 2 Samuel, that's it. Samuel, 1st and 2nd Samuel. And after 1st Kings and 2nd Kings, we're going to have 1st, 2nd Chronicles. Then we're going to have Ezra. I'm pretty sure it's like 4 chapters. Nehemiah, Esther, Job, and then finally this Psalms. That's going to be I'm not going to say painful, but it's going to be a lot. Psalms is going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. So it's going to be Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. Songs of Solomon is going to be a little Songs of Solomon is going to be a little problematic because it's very it's not for children, let's just say that. Isaiah and Jeremiah, Lamentations. Isaiah's good. Jeremiah is good. Lamentations, I don't think I've ever read that. Ezekiel, just about angels. No, I'm playing. It's not just about angels, okay? But you get a lot of information about angels in Ezekiel. Daniel, I don't think I've read Daniel. Hosea, I don't think I've read that either. Joel, I don't think I've read that either. Amos, I don't think I've read that either. Obadiah is like 4 chapters long too. Jonah, 4 chapters long. Micah, I haven't read that. Nahum, I haven't read that. Habakkuk, I haven't read that. Zephaniah, I haven't read that. Haggai, I haven't read that. Zechariah, I haven't read that. Malachi, I haven't read that. And after all of that, so let's see how many books we have until we get to the New Testament. We have this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. We have 29 more books until we get to the New Testament. Guys, we are blasting through this. I'm not gonna say we're blasting through this, but hey, we guys, come on now. You gotta clap it up for God, bro. The fact that he gave me this voice box, and the fact that he gave me the endurance to read all of that, an hour and 30 minutes. It was like an hour and 40 minutes because I'm talking. An hour of 30 minutes of just reading, like, bro, like, and I stopped in between too to like, like, have a couple sermons, y'all gotta clap it up for God, man. But hey, we'll be in 1st Kings finally, and after Kings, it's Chronicles. After Chronicles, I already forgot. I think it's like Nehemiah or something. But anyway, hey, we're getting through it. So, as of right now, that's it. God bless.